What is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? And today we are going to be reacting to Bleacher Report's new article, and it is every team's MVP of the last decade. So like always, I will leave a link to the article in the description below. We're going to go through this and see who Greg Schwartz had as his specific team's MVP. I have a list of the NBA teams in alphabetical order on my right, so I know how this is going to go. So I'm going to try to guess his before it, and then I'm going to say if that would be my MVP or if it would be somebody else's. So every team's MVP of the last decade. So the first team that will come up is the Atlanta Hawks, and I think it's down between two players. I don't think Joe Johnson is... No. So it's going to come down between, I think, Paul Millsap and Al Horford. And I think he's going to give it to Al Horford, and I think I would do the same. So the first one is Al Horford. Okay, so years 2010 to 2016. Fourth in games, second in points, and win shares, number one. I think I would agree. Yeah, Jeff Teague could also maybe be up there as well. Kyle Korver made an all-star game for them. But I think Al Horford is the obvious choice here. He played, 7 years there? Or 6 years with them. So he's going to come in as the Hawks MVP. So the next team is the Boston Celtics. They're interesting. So I don't think it's going to be Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. Definitely not going to be Kyrie or Gordon Hayward. I would say maybe important players like Paul Pierce, but he was at the end of his career. He only played, 3 years? And then you're looking at, Isaiah Thomas, who played a couple years with Boston, but had that memorable playoff run with them back in 2016? 2016, yeah. So maybe it might be Thomas. I don't think it'll be KG. Rondo, no. Let's see who he gives it. Okay, so he gives it to Isaiah Thomas. He played 2015, 16, and 17 with them. He was 19th in games, second in points. Okay, I guess that's throughout the decade, or is that through that time? I'm going to guess that's through that time. He was second in points. And then second in MVP, or second in win shares. He was top 10 in MVP, I believe, in 2016. 2017, 2016, one of those 2 years. It might have been 2017. Yeah, that was the big year for him. Okay, so he gives it them. Oh, I couldn't see that, but I think actually that said Brook Lopez for the Nets. I would have done the same. Yeah, the Nets were pretty bad in the 2010s. So I think Brook Lopez would be the obvious choice here. He was first in games from 2010 to 2017. First in points, yeah. He was an obvious one. Like Kyrie, too late. KD obviously never even played for them this decade. Joe Johnson was their big free agency signing at the beginning of the decade. Him, and then they traded for Darren Williams. Neither one of them worked out. The Paul Pierce KG trade didn't work out. So Brook Lopez, that's an obvious choosing there. And then they ended up moving him to get D'Lo. And then D'Lo helped them, ended up being respectable enough to get KD and Kyrie. So Lopez ended up leaving his mark for that Nets team in a good way. So the next team we have is the Charlotte Hornets. That's pretty easy. That should be Kemba Walker. Yeah, so Kemba played 2011 from when he got drafted to last year. So almost the whole decade. First in games, points, and win shares. He was the only all-star player on that team. Al Jefferson was good for that 1 or 2 seasons. But yeah, throughout his career there, the second best player was what? Nicholas Batum, Marvin Williams, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. They missed on draft picks. Maybe they could have drafted Bradley Beal over MKG. They could have drafted CJ McCollum over Cody Zeller. Who knows? Maybe Nikola Jokic over Noah Vonleh. But yeah, they made a lot of draft mistakes. And Kemba was really their only good player of the 2010s. And they only had one playoff appearance. And that was the whole Ninja Turtle thing against the Heat. So the next team we got is the Chicago Bulls. Jimmy Butler. It's going to be D-Rose or Jimmy Butler. I'm going to say it's going to be Jimmy Butler, and yeah, he gave it to Jimmy Butler. He was second in games, first in points, and first in win shares throughout that time. Who else is ahead of him? Noah? Boozer? Gibson? Maybe it was Gibson that was ahead of him. So yeah, D-Rose certainly deserves a shout-out, but he only really had 2-3 good years for them, and the third year was kind of cut short with injury. So I think, yeah, it would come down between Rose, Gibson, Noah, and then Butler. You can give Wilding a little bit of love, but not anything too much. And any current Bull... Maybe Zach LaVine, but he's only played, the 2017-18 season, 2018-19. He's played 3 years for them, but I think Jimmy Butler is I think that's the universal pick. Maybe, obviously, you might love D-Rose if you're a Bulls fan, but I would probably pick Butler to be their MVP. I wanted to guess the Cavs, but yeah, it's LeBron. That would have been easy anyway, so yeah, he ended up bringing a title to Cleveland. He ended up playing 4 seasons there, went to the finals all 4 years, fifth in games. Interesting. I guess Kyrie was ahead of him. Was Love ahead of him? Fifth in games. Maybe Shumpert or JR? Interesting. Second in points. Really? Kyrie led him in points? Okay. And then win shares, number 1. Obvious pick. He helped them win an NBA championship first time in forever. Finals MVP. Duh. Next team is Dallas. Dirk. Another easy one. Beginning of the decade helped them win a championship. He played pretty much the whole decade with them. First in games, first in points, first in win shares. That was very easy. Okay, so moving over next is Denver. Is it going to be? It's going to be Jokic, right? Jokic, I'm trying to think. 2014. Yeah, I think it's going to be Jokic, right? Yeah, it's going to be Nikola Jokic. He ended up playing from 2015. He got drafted in 2014, so 2014-15 season to the present day. He played, he was second in games. I don't know who would be number one throughout that time period. Jamal Murray? But he was drafted a whole year later. Maybe Gary Harris. Actually, probably Gary Harris in that time, because he was drafted in 2014, the same year as Jokic. The only other player I could really think of. That's the longest tenured player there. First in points, first in win shares. That one was easy. Gallo, maybe. He did play a couple years there. Ty Lawson, he was good for that couple years. Fareed, got to give him some love, yeah. But I think Jokic is the clear pick. So next team we have is the Detroit Pistons. Is this going to be Drummond? It's probably going to be Drummond, right? Let's see. Yeah, even though he's not like a crazy good player, they never made it out of the first round, I believe, in this decade. Or at least with Drummond on that team from 2012. But first in games, first in points, first in win shares, yeah. Because they had a bunch of people coming in. Blake Griffin obviously played a little bit there. Tobias Harris. And they weren't really spectacular. Greg Monroe was there. But yeah, I think this is the obvious pick. As you can see, games, points, win shares, played mainly the whole decade and got traded this year to Cleveland. Next team we have is Golden State. That should be easy. It'll be Curry. I don't know if he'll do a dual MVP, but yeah. Curry, easy one here. Won 3 championships. Yeah, 3 championships. Played the whole decade there. First in games, points, and win shares. Obvious pick. Next team up is the Rockets. That should be James Harden. Another pretty easy one. He played most of the decade there. First in games, points, and win shares. I don't know what that says, so I'm not going to look at that. But is that an easy... Well, Harden made it to a couple conference finals, never made it to the NBA finals. The next team is the Pacers. It's going to be Paul George, right? Yeah, Paul George ended up getting traded in the 2017 offseason. Yeah, it'll be Paul George. Okay. So Paul George played 7 years there. First in games, points, win shares. Oladipo might be the guy for the 2020s, or Sabonis. We'll see. But yeah, Paul George, they were very close to beating the Heat. And imagine you had Paul George, like the two players that really gave those Heat teams a run for their money, mainly in the regular season and a little bit in the playoffs, but not a lot, was Derrick Rose on the Bulls. Obviously, we don't know what it would have been like if he was like fully healthy the MVP year, because that's in the middle of the Miami Heat's like kind of run. He won MVP, and then Paul George. Those two players pushed them to their limits. A couple Boston teams, but it was mainly Paul George and Derrick Rose. And I would have loved to see those two players on the same team go at it, or those two players on the same team go at the Heat. But I think Paul George is a pretty easy one as well. The Clippers here, are we going to give it to CP3 or Blake? It might be Blake. Of the decade, Blake, because he played a couple more years there. Because what? Chris Paul was traded there in what, 2013? I don't know. Is he going to give it to Chris Paul? Yeah, he does give it to Chris Paul. So Blake played the whole decade there. This is rookie year. But yeah, it was 2011. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we could give it to Chris Paul. They mainly played similar years because Blake ended up going half a season later at the deadline, or a little bit before the deadline. Chris Paul got traded in the offseason prior. So games third, points second, win shares first. Games might go to DJ, and Blake might be the ones ahead of him. Yeah, but Blake, shout out to Blake finishing second and DeAndre Jordan finishing third. Obviously, the Lob City Clips, a team that was a big what if, and team that never made it to the finals. I don't think made it to the conference finals either, unfortunately. Lakers, probably Kobe. What, Kobe retired in 2016? Yeah, they started off the decade. Yeah, it'll be Kobe. So Kobe was first in games throughout those 6 years, points, and second in win shares. Who'd be first in win shares at that time? Not Gasol. Maybe? I don't know. It has to be, right? Yeah, it has to be. But yeah, I feel like that's a pretty easy one because like T.O. didn't spend a lot of time there. Ingram, Ball, none of them, and LeBron's only been there only 1 year. And if you're counting from the last decade, because people aren't counting this decade, this year. This year is counting for the 2020s. So last year the Lakers didn't even play the playoffs. Yeah, Kobe was an easy one. Memphis. I think they're who they gonna choose? Gasol or Conley? I'm gonna say Gasol, but it might be Conley. Okay, gave it to Marc Gasol because defensive player of the year. I believe he made an All-Star game. Mike Conley hasn't. But yeah, he played the whole decade there and was First in games, points, and win shares. Yeah, okay. That was an easy one, I guess. If you're comparing... I don't know if that was... No, definitely not an easy one, but I think you would give it to Marc Gasol. Next team here is the Miami Heat. This should be Dwayne Wade, just because he obviously stayed there. When LeBron left, they didn't really have much success once he left. They had... I don't even remember if they had a playoff series victory throughout that time, because I know they missed the playoffs when they won, like, when they went on that crazy streak to end the year. It might have been like 2015 or 2016, and then they lost to Philly that one year. Actually, they did beat Charlotte that one year. I think that was like 2014 or 15. But yeah, Dwayne Wade definitely, he did leave for Chicago and Cleveland for a little bit, but that ended up retiring in Miami, which was cool. First in games, points, and win shares. Okay, next team we have is the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis, yeah, Giannis already. He was drafted in 2013, really came on in 2015, and he's first in games, points, and win shares since that time. Okay, that was a fairly easy one. Minnesota, probably Cat. Yeah, he's been there from 2015 on. Maybe Jimmy Butler was a better player and did play with Cat, but he was only there for, what, one season? And then he ended up getting traded the year later. So, yeah, he was third in games throughout that time. Probably Wiggins is ahead of him. Points, probably Wiggins is ahead of him. And win shares, he's number one. But yeah, he has scored the most points for Minnesota this decade, and that being Wiggins. Pelicans, 80. Yeah, I don't know why I thought about that for a second. 2012 to 2019, first in games, points, and win shares. That one was fairly easy. The Knicks, this one should be easy as well. Okay, yeah, some of these will be easy. The Knicks will be Carmelo Anthony. He played from 2011 to 2017. First in games, points, and win shares. Yeah, there's very little debating. Stoudemire had his, good year? One good year. Kristaps had his good year, his all-star year, but it's mainly Melo. No doubt about that. Next team is OKC. I mean, throughout the time, KD was by far the better player, but since Russ had that MVP year, once KD left, I think he'll give it to Russ. Yeah, so he gives it to Russ. Throughout 2010 to 2019, first in games, points, and win shares. While Kevin Durant may be the most talented player to ever put on the Thunder jersey, Westbrook easily stands as the franchise MVP over the last decade. Very fair, because the way KD kind of left. So, perfectly reasonable. The Magic, not Dwight. They're going to give it to Vucevic. Aaron Gordon. Oh, this one's going to be weird for the Magic. Maybe he will give it to Dwight. No, okay, so yeah, no. Because Dwight got basically traded at the beginning of the decade. Vucevic, 2012 on. Okay, yeah. First in games, points, win shares. That one is an easy one. One-time All-Star. And he was acquired in that Dwight Howard trade from Philadelphia. Philadelphia kind of got screwed. They ended up giving up Vucevic, Iggy, right, in that trade as well. And then they got Andrew Bynum, and I think a future first-round pick as well. But yeah, I guess that one was fairly easy. And speaking of Philly, they are next. It's going to be Embiid. Embiid is what? Played 2016, 17, 18, 19? Yeah, it'll be Embiid still. I was thinking maybe some Drew Holiday, because Drew Holiday got traded on draft night in 2013. Never mind, or well, but now it's going to be Embiid. Oh, Ben Simmons. Okay. This was a close call. Simmons, Thaddeus Young, and Embiid are separated by 2 win shares. TJ McConnell has played more games than any other Sixer. All right. Might have went to Embiid here. That might have been my argument, or my pick, but okay. He picks Ben Simmons 8th in games, 4th in points, and 1st in win shares. Okay, so the next team we have is Phoenix. That's pretty easy. Devin Booker. Just kidding. Devin Booker was drafted in 2015. Okay. Dragic played... I don't know. Devin Booker scored the most points for the Suns over the last 10 years. PJ Tucker's played the most games. Wow, so Dragic has 2 stints there, and then he was ended up traded for that first-round pick to Miami, and that pick was bounced around. They ended up trading it to get Mikal Bridges, and then Philly traded it to get Tobias Harris, and then LA traded it to get Paul George. But okay, he goes Goran Dragic. I think I would have went Devin Booker, but true, I think they made the playoffs in 2010, so maybe... Or was it 2009? Either way, that was like the last solid team. So, okay. Next team is Portland. That is Damian Lillard. That one's fairly easy, okay. That one, yeah. Damian Lillard, 2012 on. 6th pick in 2012? Maybe 7th? I think 6th. Maybe 5th as well. I don't know. Around that area. First in games, points, and win shares. McCollum and Aldridge would come 2nd and 3rd probably. Next team we have is the Sacramento Kings. Oh, God. DeMarcus Cousins. Yeah. I forgot it for a second. 2010 to 2017. Traded for Buddy Hield in a first-round pick that they ended up trading down for, and I think it was like Justin Jackson that they ended up bringing in with that trade with Portland. So, yeah, he was first in games, points, win shares. Really didn't end all that well there, but that is a pretty obvious selection. So, we do have 4 more teams here. We have Spurs, Raptors, Jazz, and Wizards, and I think maybe the Wizards might have some controversy. The Raptors, now I think I know who that will be. So the Spurs, Duncan retired in what, 2014? Probably Kawhi. It's going to be Duncan or Kawhi, and he gives it to Tony. Wow, okay. I kind of like that Tim Duncan went out as a Spur. Tony Parker did go out. Technically, his last year was with the Hornets. I don't know if he signed like a one-day to retire as a Spur. But yeah, 2010 to 2018. I forgot he played all the way. Yeah, that was the Hornets year. That was the summer. That was my freshman of college summer year. So that was 2017. And he ended. No, that was 2018. Yeah, where he signed with the Hornets. Wow, I forgot he ended up playing the 2018-19 season. I don't think he played much for them, but he was second in games, first in points, second in win shares. Parker and Kawhi could easily share honors here. So no Duncan, I guess, because he retired a little bit earlier. Kawhi played from, 2011 to 2019. Or was Kawhi traded this year? No, I think Kawhi was traded this year, so he was this 2011 to 2018. Okay. Wait, no. Maybe Kawhi was traded the year after. Was Kawhi traded? No, Kawhi was traded this year as well. Yeah. Kawhi was traded this year as well. Or the year Tony Parker went to Charlotte later in the offseason, Kawhi did get traded to Toronto. Wait, so does that mean Tony... Hold on, I'm tripping right now. Wait, Tony Parker played 56 games on... I feel like I don't remember watching Tony Parker play last year. Wow, that year is such a blur, seeing him in a Hornets jersey. Such a blur, because I was like, wow, that was just literally last season? Huh, okay. So yeah, he gives it to Tony Parker. That's fair. Maybe able to give it to Kawhi. Nah, Tony Parker's fine. So the three last teams, the Raptors, over time, DeRozan, but I think since Kyle Lowry won a championship from them in the final year of the decade, it will be Kyle Lowry. Yeah, and he gives it to Kyle Lowry. 2012 present, from when he got traded from Houston? Or Memphis? Houston. Second in games, second in points, first in win shares. But yeah, this last year kind of put Lowry over the DeRozan. But maybe people will say it's Kawhi Leonard because he played 1 year there, got them the championship, and they're okay with that. So the last two teams are the Jazz and Wizards. Jazz, Gordon Hayward. No, gives it to Rudy Gobert. What year was Gobert drafted? 2013? Yeah, he was... Okay, that's fair. Because he's been there a lot longer than, I guess, Hayward. Because Hayward was, 2011 or 2010? To 2017. I don't know. I guess it's a debate between him or Gordon Hayward. While Gobert has contributed to more wins than any other Jazz player over the last decade, Favors has played more games, and Hayward has scored more points. Okay, but I'm fine with Gobert. And then the last one, the Wizards. I'm going to give it to Wall just because he's played the whole decade there over Bradley Beal, and he gives it to John Wall. Okay, that's who I would do as well. 2010 to present, first in games, second in points, and first in win shares. So yeah, that is going to be for me. Thank you all for watching. This might be a good video idea for the main channel. I might do that, like every team's best player from the 2010s. That I think would be a cool idea to do. So shout out to Greg Sports of Bleacher Report, and let me know what you guys think or disagree with or agree with in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next video.